Well, hello there. Greetings and salutations. It is I, Johnny of the Wizardcast, and on this episode of Who the Heaven Is I, season number 3, episode number 11, it is July 15th, 2025. Hola, amigos, amigas, y personas en este galaxy. That's right. It is another exciting and delighting episode of Who the Heaven Is I, and I'm coming a little more professional. It's been actually just a day short of less than a month, because last episode I think was on the 16th of June, and summer's here, so riding those summer waves. It's the summer of magic here at the Wizardcast, where making magic is our business, podcasting professionals, and so. Yeah, I've just been going through reorganizing, restructuring, and this episode, I'm getting a little more professional, I've actually, for those of you that, are following the podcast that are new, this started as just me waking up every morning just doing this podcast. And now, as I'm looking to grow the podcast from what it originally was, share more of myself, but also have a better foundation. I've been working on just going through and creating systems to make it easy, kind of like Legos and check boxes, so like, I know I need a logo every morning, and actually, I'm not going to do this on this whole episode here. Like, I'll do a special bonus episode, because maybe people don't want to know about the behind the scenes, and people just want to get right into the heart of the matter. Today's episode is making the dream work. To make the dream work, you need some... Yeah, right? You initially want to say team, right? But you got to start with the dream. What is the dream? And I think that's probably why I haven't been podcasting this past month. I've been assessing and analyzing my big dream. It's a huge dream. And that's why it's so challenging, because I'm one person, and teamwork does make the dream work, and we're going to get to that later. But the dream has to be solid, and I have to really feel it, live it, love it, know it's going to happen, right? And I can't do that if I'm not in my own state of like focus on the dream and then analyzing. It's like the Griswolds were going to Wally World, on their vacation, right? Summer vacation, they're going out there to Wally World. Wally World or bust. And they made stops along the way. And, it's one of those things where they were going through a lot of adversity during the trip. And at one point, they might have wanted to say, hey, let's pivot and do something different, because look what happened, right? They finally got to Wally World, and it was closed because Clark didn't do his research and find out that they were under construction. And instead of pivoting, Clark forced the issue, right? Which, for cinematic purposes, it was very, very enjoyable to see the outcome of that. John Candy as the security guard that was forced to go on the rides was kind of funny, right? But sometimes the universe, our higher selves, God, whatever the belief system you have, has something better planned for us. And we just got to put the dream out there and work at things. But when things shift, we can analyze and say, okay, like a wave, I need to roll with that tide. Roll, tide, roll. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where I think that while I have this big, huge dream, me having the chance to kind of reflect upon what my motives, my whole reason behind it, and the whole focus on, bringing it to life, because it's pretty big, I've had to change a little bit. So it's one of those things where overall dream, peace on earth, right? How am I going to get there? Well, bringing the universe into consciousness, starting with myself. Because if I can't be conscious, then how can anyone else be conscious? It's truly one of those things where I am only as good as the programming I put into my brain. And I know there's tricks and tactics and things I can do that I just haven't been doing, And why am I not doing it? And I use it as like the brain surgery philosophy, where brain surgeons can't operate on their own brains, at least at this point, right? So they have to have someone else do it. So it's easy for me to operate on other people, which is why I'm always asking friends and family members and clients, let's get into podcasting, because I know that that's the future. I know that that is a great way for them to get their word out there. The same reason I started this one is just to kind of have my own voice, that no one can say anything. There's no network or anyone that can stop me from what I'm saying here right now. I'm recording this on my own device, and there's many different ways to do podcasts. A lot of people think you have to go out and spend $20 million. Well, not $20 million, but like $250 on microphones and cables and headphones and stuff like that. I literally do this on a free phone, recording in the voice app. And I do everything from this phone, just to show you that you don't need anything except for your creativity and a dream, And if you feel that you're not a creative person, that's a whole other story, because everyone has creativity. We've been conditioned not to be part of this system of functionality. But what if instead of being conditioned, we all unconditioned ourselves and just lived our authentic lives, right? So, so recording this podcast lets me kind of voice my feelings and my vision. But more importantly, getting my vision out there of the big dream. So, peace on earth, right? And then on top of that, how am I going to get there, right? How am I going to get peace on earth? And really, when I say peace on earth, it's just everyone just being chill and not being disrespectful with each other. Let people live and let live. That being said, some people have gone through trauma. Some people have gone through things in life. And what I'm learning is you don't necessarily have to avoid people like that, because you go to the grocery store and literally the person checking you out might have had their dog die today, so they might be checking you out and they might have a sad look on their face and they might be upset, but they're not upset at you, they're just upset at the situation, right? And so when that kind of stuff happens, like, not taking stuff personally, because everyone's going through stuff. But then how can I elevate that person's life that's going through something the same way that when I'm going through stuff, I like for people to elevate my life? Because in my opinion, we're all connected. Everything is part of the everything. So there's that. So I brainstormed back in the Y2K Conscious One Entertainment. Actually, I really brainstormed it back in like 1997. And the idea is a media / entertainment company / it's a little bit more than that. It's education, information too. That shows you perspective. I found that when I was younger, my biggest challenge of doing anything in school, because school sucks. You're conditioned from other kids to think that school sucks. But as you're an adult, you're like, man, I wish I would have paid attention to that in class. That would have been very helpful now. Because when you're younger, like, what am I going to need math in life for? And then you understand that finance and everything runs on math, even the universe, the design of it all. And if you don't believe all that, rule of thirds, the golden rule, all these different things that show that math is part of things. Anyhow, it's a lot to take in, right? So you don't go to school after you graduate usually. Most people don't, right? And then what we feed our mind affects us greatly. So then my philosophy has been, well, how can I do something that is fun, engaging, informative, tells the whole picture, and then in addition to that, is entertaining. So that's where Conscious One Entertainment was born. And 20, almost 30 years later, it still hasn't come out of the oven yet. But some things take longer. Like tequila You know, I like the añejo that's been in the oak barrels aged for over 2 years. So that's kind of how Conscious One Entertainment is. It's been aging, but it's getting better because the technology changes. So part of the idea ever since 2015, maybe 2016, is to do the content in a format that is 360 degrees or immersive, so people see what it's like to put on someone's shoes, to go through the joy of someone celebrating their graduation, to go through the pain of someone losing a family member, to feel the emotions using augmented reality, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, I said already, 360 technology. Like I bought a camera back in 2015. That was a 360 camera, but my computer really couldn't handle like the editing of it. But I took a lot of footage with it. I did a lot of mainly nature stuff, and it came out really, really, really nice. Really, 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 really nice. All this nature stuff. But editing has been a challenge. The camera no longer works. The company that made the camera, and this is a whole Future 86 episode, but the company that made the camera also made these cool goggles to watch the footage you got. But then, it all got obsoleted really, really, really quick. So that kind of sucks, right? And so I want to do better, I want to get to a point where technology doesn't become disposable, but I like to use technology that doesn't fold after 5 minutes, and that technology definitely folded after 5 minutes. Not really a good feeling. So I haven't been able to get the content off the ground with that camera, and I have some like little bit of things that I have on display over on YouTube. I have a 360 performance of an open mic, me doing some freestyle rapping at an open mic, and it looks pretty cool. You can see the crowd, you can see me, you can see Miss Kitty that's on the stage with me, but sometimes my vision is ahead of its time, and at that time the technology was cool, but it was more of a novelty. Now legitimately there's great cameras, great computers that can handle editing the footage, and then great boxes to view the stuff, such as the Meta Quest or the Apple Vision Pro. They're definitely two different things that allow for the viewing and immersing yourself into the content of the 360 immersive video. So sometimes you have to go, put things in hibernation until the time is right? But when I go back and look at it, I go, okay, wow, now I can take these ideas and put it into play. So I know, it's like, where's Johnny going with this? Well, sometimes things go through development and adjustments, and it took me a long time to get to this point. Obviously, it's like over 20 years, right? And that goes back to teamwork makes the dream work, right? Like, who you put on your team affects if you're going to win or lose the game. I'm going to be the first to say it. Love Tyreek Hill as an athlete. As a teammate, don't think he is indicative of someone that is all in for team, especially after his 2020, I guess it was 2023 season, where he was, the leading pass catcher in the NFL, and he's all about, I'm going to hit 2,000 yards. Right. That's great. But if your personal accolades supersede your accolades, desires to win a Super Bowl, which I believe everyone in the NFL, that's the goal, right? Like, if you're playing in the NFL and you set your goals every year, and I never understood why they go, our goal is to get into the playoffs. Well, then you lost already, because your goal doesn't take it to the end. You've already created your plan A is to be losers. right? It's victory or bust, and that's just the way I look at it. Back to Tyreek Hill, you know, the 2024 season starts off him getting arrested for being a hotshot, you know, on the way to the game. You know, he's flying in his fancy car. He gets there, and then it's like, womp, womp. You know, everyone's like, oh, those police were so bad with him, which they were, right? You know, but he would not have been in that position if he was following the rules. If he got to work on time, this would have never have happened. And so I'd like to think that Tyreek Hill is a reformed man, that he said, oh, wow, man, I got to put team before me. But everything I see in Tyreek Hill's, in his DNA is me. I'm going to race these people. I'm the fastest. Okay, great. What's that do for you when they're putting 4 men on the top? You can be as fast as you want. You're not getting by them. So now you have to pivot and adjust, which I don't know if he has the mental capacity to pivot and adjust. So he is my biggest concern on the Dolphins. He's probably one of our greatest quote-unquote assets, but he's also our greatest weakness, because at any point he can just quit on us. As a Dolphins fan, I expect a letter of apology from Tyreek Hill. Any player that quits on your team, come on, man. Who are you? You're getting paid millions of dollars, and you're going to say, oh, I'm not going to play because I'm out of the playoffs. I'm going to say you're a loser. And I love you, Tyreek, right? But you obviously don't care about your fans. You only care about yourself. Prove me wrong. Yeah, you can donate money here and there. Especially when you got money like that, it means nothing to you, right? You throwing out $10,000 is like, you know, me crapping a penny, you know? Like, it is what it is. But if you really cared about it, you'd say, hey, guys, I realized that I wasn't focused on team stuff. I was very egoistical. Like you're all about the ego, and you're not taking in the team. And enough about Tyreek right now, because, you know, that's going to play out the way it is. I'd like to think he's going to evolve. I'd like to think McDaniels holds him accountable. I'd like to think, you know, Stephen Ross holds McDaniels accountable. And I like to think that everyone just has a good time and put positive vibes. Back to that, I go back to the Miami Heat 2013 team where they were doing the Harlem Shake. You know, like, they were in the vibe. They had the fun going. You could not beat them. They were like Teflon. They were like, you know, I don't even know how to say it. The Wolverine's claws, you know. Adamantium? Yeah, I think it's adamantium. Like, they're indestructible. Like, when you have the positive vibes going, and to me, that's where you start with everything. And back to teamwork making the dream work, if you have people on your team aren't supporting the vision, aren't supporting you as a human being, always trying to control and tell you what you should be doing, as opposed to asking, hey, how can I support you? Probably not the best teammates. If they're not aligned on the vision, if they're not aligned on where you're going. My goal is to make this world a better place. Not just like okay, you know, I'm doing a little recycling. No, I'm saying, like, we're all messed up right now on this planet. We've been doing things that served its purpose maybe back in the 1800s and the 1900s. But we're in the Y2K, 25 years in, and there's still racism. There's still sexism. There's still hate. There's still violence. There's still people that don't know how to master their mentality. And when they don't get what they want, they lash out on other people. And when they do that, you know, like me being one of those people that they lash out on, I'm like, why do I have these people in my life? Like, they're not owning their stuff, and they're coming at me. I had one friend said, you think you're God? Because I was, like, doing meditation, and I was just doing the spiritual stuff. And I wasn't pushing it on anyone. I was just doing it, you know? But they weren't. And they were just, you know, watching TV, drinking, smoking, whatever, you know, just complaining about politics. Great, that's cool and all, right? But you can't control any of that stuff. So people, you know, I know a lot of people look at me as like, oh, this guy's uneducated, he doesn't watch the news. What is the news going to do for me in front of my face here? You know, like, that's my most powerful point, is me and everything I'm directly impacting, because then everything else falls into place. And there's gonna be stuff going on outside the world. I don't let that noise get to me, and I'm concerned, and I pray, and I meditate, and I support locally. You know, being global and not being local is counterproductive. You know, you can be like, oh yes, I want to save the people in this country or save the people in that country, but then you crap on your neighbor. Come on, what's that all about? So, who you surround yourself with, and most importantly, like especially if you're married or in a relationship, or you know, any type of connection that's deeper than saying hi, bye, walking down the street. Especially if you're living with the person, it's really important that you're aligned on values, morals, goals. So you know that when you get to where you're going, they're going to be there with you. They're not like, oh, you're going here? I didn't want to go there. Thank you. Bye, Felicia. No. Like, you want to, you know, kind of like when I sing Let There Be Peace on Earth, which I do a lot. You know, walk with my brothers and sisters. I modified it, you know, the way I do my Let There Be Peace on Earth, because original is like, let me walk my brother, let me walk my siblings, I say, because that's what it is. Like, we're all related. Let's be chill. Now, the people in your household or your direct connections, your BFFs, you know, your boss at work, whatever, not aligned, are they the right person for you? And sadly, I've had to go through this whole evolution, and I love people. I don't want to let people go, but if they're not keeping up with what I'm doing, I got no time to live like I'm 15. And I know what people say, wait, you hold on a second. You can't live like you're 15, but you were so fun and had great times, and that's unlocking your inner child. There's a mature way to unlock the inner child. I'm definitely someone that has mastered the art of unlocking the inner child. In fact, I think I'm going to teach a master class of that because I really feel that people get stuck on what that really looks like. It doesn't mean disregarding your responsibilities and just going to the park all day and playing basketball and with your homies and forgetting about responsibilities. It doesn't mean making fun of people. Like when I was growing up, you know, that was the cool thing when you're in school. Like, they find the person to pick on, that everyone makes jokes, and then the people laugh, and then they got to join into it because they want to be part of the socially acceptable group. But I was always the opposite. I was befriended the people they would make fun of, and we would plot our counterattack, or it was really more of our defense. And that's in one of my podcasts back in the day. So if you really want to make the dream work, you got to make the team work, because a couple of reasons. A, who you surround yourself with really, really, really will shape who you are, literally, physically, and spiritually, emotionally. And when you have someone that supports you unconditionally, not like, oh, they're doing what I want them to do, now I'm going to support them. No, like just because, like, that's what I believe humans should do. Like, I might understand what's going on, you know, but I was like, oh, this person's doing that, well, I'm going to support them. It makes them happy, as long as they're not hurting anyone. There we go. So there's that. Surrounding yourself with the people that make you feel great. And you know, they can be honest too. There's a way to give feedback in a way that doesn't be like, oh, that sucks. You know, like the what and why. What, why? What is the situation, and why is that important, right? Like, hey, I know you wear those crazy white croc-looking things with money fanned out on the front, you know? You could say, those things are weird, and they're not great for walking in the rain, you know, which can be true. Like, I almost slipped on the way walking my lady lover to work because there was like a little grease on the path, and these things didn't really dig in. Now, granted, unless you're wearing like slip resistant shoes, you know, that wouldn't happen, but nonetheless, these are kind of like ball tires, and they slide all over the place. So couldn't say that, you know, hey, those shoes are crap. Or you say, hey, I noticed that you slipped before. Have you ever considered wearing slip resistant shoes? This way you don't slip and break your leg or twist your knee. That's a way to give feedback, as opposed to saying, those shoes sucks, change them. You know? But as a human race, we're evolving. You know, mental health is a huge issue in everyone's experiences we've had in life. but most people don't go back and try to fix themselves on their upbringing, what they were conditioned and what they were set to do. They just keep rolling with it and get frustrated. Why isn't this working? They try to force the things, and they look at bad relationship after bad relationship, but they blame everyone else except for themselves. They don't go internal, and I've gone all internal. And that's why, like I said, I don't talk to as many people as I talk to. I mean, yeah, I got like 1,000+ followers on Instagram and 1,600 followers, friends on Facebook. And I do love all those people. I've detached from a lot of people on there, sadly, because some of those people have tried to tell me what I need to do, how I need to do, without asking why I'm doing what I'm doing, or what I'm doing what I'm doing, or if they're a really good friend, how can I help you, right? And in the same way, I would go and help people. But I found, and this is something you learn, right? Because of the way my history of life and what I've experienced, I was always a people pleaser. And I'm starting to realize those relationships that were founded on pleasing people have been eliminated, because I'm not going out of my way to please them anymore. I'm just owning my space while still being respectful of theirs. And you know, I remember a friend last summer that totally, it really at its height was probably in the fall, but during the summer they started like questioning my motives and what I'm doing, and detaching and just acting really weird. And it's like, really? I'm going above and beyond, do my best to help you, but you're not helping yourself, and then you're coming at me, blaming me. But bye, Felicia. And I hung on for a long time, because, you know, when you're connected with someone, you know, you grow up with someone, you've known someone for a long time, that's what happens. And, you know, especially if it's a boss, right? Like you assume the boss is, as a kid, wow, they know stuff because they own the business and they do it. But what I found as an adult, most businesses, people don't know what they're doing. They just start doing it, and it just starts coming into fruition. And that's why me not launching the Conscious One Entertainment is the most ridiculous thing in the whole wide world, because straight up, I've been sitting on this for so long. Just put it out there. There's a need for it. When I talk to people about, you know, most people are like, oh, that's a great idea, you know. There's a couple people like, oh, you know, why are you doing that, you know? That's usually people that are out in Hollywood, that are set in their ways in the way the system is, which I believe the system's wrong. I mean, look at all the Me Too stuff that happened out in Hollywood, right? You look at the entertainment business. People, when they get too much of the power, the money, they take it to that next level, and they become, they become immoral, because they can. You know, there's sadly, money does rule a lot, and people don't make the decision based upon honor, respect, love, what's right. They do it, where's the payola? And everything I'm working on kind of resets that. It brings it back to, the value isn't in the dollar, the value is in the heart. The value is in the love. And so, you know, if there's no reciprocal love in relationships that you're having, it doesn't need to be holding hands and kissing with all your friends, right? Like, no, I'm just saying, like, people not coming at you for you trying to level up, and when you're going through stuff, people not like attacking you and making you feel worse for the stuff you're going on. You know, it's a big, you know, problem for me is the homeless situation. When I moved down to Miami, I saw so many homeless people, and I said, I'm going to change that, and I'm working on it, right? And many people will critique the homeless and say all this stuff because some of the behavior of some of the homeless people, it's really, really, really sad. You know, like they almost live, and there's no disrespect here at all. And I know probably someone's saying he's calling them homeless. They're people without homes. I mean, let's not play the semantics game here. They are without a home. They're homeless. Okay, you know, and that's just the way they're. That's a lot of them. You know, believe it or not, actually choose that. Some of them just have gone through so many situations they don't know what to do. But point of the matter is, people will judge them, and they're a life form, and they won't treat them as humans anymore. They treat them like animals because some of them do act like animals. But it's not like they've, in my opinion, is someone that has actually gone out of his way to talk to them, to understand the psychology of it. Like, Why do they act that way? Because they've given up hope. They've lost faith. And all the religious people out there, come on. You guys can't change the world by sharing your good faith. Instead, you're going to judge? Come on. And that's not all of them. I've met some really, really, really nice, religious people that do use their faith as a tool of positive vibes, of inspiration and encouragement. But it's not always happening, It's not always one of those things that happens because some people feel like they become the gatekeeper of heaven and these people ain't getting in there because they do this, this, and this. Not your job to decide. It's your job just to live, love, and let love. So, I got a little sidetracked. But teamwork makes the dream work. And whoever you have on your team, make sure they're aligned with what your vision is. Now, the other part of the teamwork makes the dream work is that I've been working on this life-changing vision all by myself for over 20 years. Now, I wonder what would happen if I actually took the time to actually just take the idea and put it out to the universe and see what people say, right? And so it's tough because there's so many components to it, and I've created so many different things. But I guess I go back to the basics. I go, in a quantum realm, you go back and forth in time, and I go to where I want to be, and I go back to where it started. And I'm at one of those moments right now. I'm redefining it. This Thursday, July 17th, it's Wizard Fest 2K25. The Wizard Cast, podcasting professionals, is hosting an open house, and you can all be part of it. And what are you going to be a part of? Seeing all the different creative developments that have gone on in the past 8 years of the Wizard Cast. It's also my brother and his wife's wedding anniversary. So, hey, Mike, hey, Joy, happy anniversary. Oh, that was a great wedding. Anyway, so the point of the matter is that I talk about the Wizard Fest on Thursday. Like, that's when I'm going to launch a lot of different things, and I'm just doing it. I'm saying it right now. I'm putting it into this podcast. Hold me accountable if you hear this. Say, hey, I heard you say that. Wizard Fest here. It's 7:17 in the morning. What's going on? And I'll be like, damn, they're right. I got to do that. I got to make it happen. And if I when you're I'm trying to move the earth, and I'm one person, right? Just imagine trying to roll that up the hill, right? But if I feel like it's just a little pebble I'm rolling, then it feels a lot better. So this podcast was the first podcast that I produced as the Wizard Cast, and I'm very proud of it. So, hey, season 3 is going to be ending soon. Season 4 will be starting up in a little bit, because straight up, that's what needs to happen. But I'm going to go through the summer months and take a little break, maybe August, and then go from there. But Wizard Fest, going to be showcasing the different podcasts in development that will be published right now, and just sharing the foundation for Conscious One Entertainment, and then putting it out there for people that want to help me fast track the Conscious One Entertainment. I went to a tech event in downtown Miami a couple weeks ago, and I met, I forgot the gentleman's name. I think he's the director of the downtown district authority of Miami, and he seemed like a really nice guy, someone that really wants to help the community, and he said, hey, connect with me, let's have a coffee, because he wants to find out what the community wants, and I think that's the starting point, right? I think people that stay on their sofa silo, that don't engage a community, and they complain about everything, then they wonder why things aren't changing. But how often do you go out to the community? So, assembling the team of people around me to help me get this dream to life is really what will help make the dream work. And I don't necessarily need to assemble it. I just need to put it out there. Hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what would be helpful. And if people want to help, great. If they don't, then I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But at least I've informed. I'm going through this whole human design course. For those of you that follow the podcast, I got into astrology during the pandemic, thanks to a mentor from a distance, Mr. Ricky Williams. He's really been in my life very developmental with different things that he does and puts out into the universe, whether it be access consciousness, astrology, or CBD, cannabis. There's a lot of different things that he's put out to the universe that made me go, that's interesting. So there's that. And so I believe that when I'm putting my conscious effort forward and I'm really diving in to what I'm working on, that it's good. And so I found that through that rabbit hole of exploring and checking out astrology, that I found human design. And so there's actually a woman by the name of Lindell Stewart that's been hosting this 8-week course, 8-session course, 4-week course in human design, which I'm getting back into because I had some technical difficulties. That's a whole other episode with my cell phone. It's the Y2K25. We have problems with cell phones like I don't know. I'd like to think that our communications become impeccable, so when we go to Mars, when we go to Venus, that we know stuff works. But anyway, the human design, the reason I bring it up is that if you don't know what human design is, it's a whole thing. It's like if astrology met the laboratory a little bit more, because even though astrology is based on science and the stars, if it met the laboratory and science a little bit more, that's what human design is. And there's a lot of things that within our charts, because some people are like, oh, that's just stuff for single chicks, looking to find a guy. That's what they use astrology. No, but it's like a roadmap for ourselves, the way we were created. Like the same way you wouldn't take a 4x4 on a racetrack. You take it off-roading, and the same way you wouldn't take a Porsche off-roading, you take it on the racetrack. And I know there's asterisks on that. You can kind of do both, but you get a better experience when you drive the vehicle the way it was meant to be driven. And in my human design DNA as a manifester, I've got to inform. I'm doing all this crazy stuff. It's so out there that if I don't inform, how do people really know what I'm doing? So I got to start with the vision, the strategy to get there, and inform. I think that was like one of the first things I wrote down this morning when I use a thing called Trello. And when I was in the Trello for creating this episode today, I even wrote all in vision, strategy, and inform. And then the second thing I wrote on there, shipmates. My lady lover, the Lily G, she's like she's my first mate right now. Technically she wasn't my first mate, but she's my current mate. And straight up, it's a good thing, because I feel that I'm able to move the needle with someone like this, because wow, she doesn't judge. She did something the other day that's kind of an after hours conversation that made me go, wow. Boundaries are very healthy in any relationship, right? And informing and feeling and thoughts and stuff like that. And so, she set up some boundaries, she set up some goals and some desires, and I was honoring them, but informing her how I felt about the said boundaries. And then she came back to me, she goes, I thought about what you said, and I understand how you feel, and I'm willing to adjust. And that to me is a perfect foundation for a relationship, is that we don't get stuck in our boundaries like concrete. And this is where the wars of the world come from, I believe, is that people get stuck into their boundaries and then they don't ever pivot. And especially from a religious standpoint, like, oh, it's this and that. And then it's like, boop. Great groups that really want to bring God to the world end up killing each other. Tell me how that makes sense. So we had a really, for me, it was in many different ways of the word, an uplifting experience, because of our willingness for both of us to act maturely, and she set boundaries. I informed. She adjusted boundaries. I adjusted my boundaries because I agree with some of the stuff that she was saying specifically, but at that moment I had certain needs. I had certain goals, and she was willing to adjust with me. So hey, another 5 stars. Ding ding ding. That being said, second mate, third mate, fourth mate, like having other people come in, and this is why before you even have kids, it's really important to set the foundation with your partner before you bring the kids to the world, because then Captain Chaos comes through. And I've experienced that, and I'm experiencing it right now with my divorce. Love my future ex-wife with all my heart as a human being, not romantically anymore, but sadly we got way out of alignment once those babies popped out. And as much as I thought, felt, and did my best to do the right thing for family, life experiences, thought processes, trauma, all that stuff on the forebrain of the ex-partner didn't allow us to stay aligned. And so now I'm backpedaling, trying to figure, how do you raise kids with someone that doesn't talk to you, that doesn't agree with your stuff, and then just really only ask for money? That's kind of funny, right? And this is why I just think marriage in the United States, at least, or in modern day world, it's a business agreement. It's the court don't care about who did what and who did this. It's like who's paying what and who's paying what. And to me, that's bullshit. I didn't marry my future ex-wife for money or for business reasons. I married it for love, but there's none of that gets brought up in court, which, don't worry, I'm changing, because I don't believe that the only thing that needs to be accounted for is finances. I believe love and respect needs to be accounted for before you even talk finances. Because if there's no love and respect, then how could anything move forward progressively? It's going to come back to, I've seen friends go through divorce, family members go through divorce, where it's cat fighting, and then that one person gets drained because they don't either have the financial resources to lawyer up, or because they get baited in because the kids are the bait, and that's the most messed up thing in the whole wide world. They feel they have to do everything, and then then because the one parent gives the kid everything, which I don't play into this, then the kid's with you, and then like, I want this, and like, no, not getting it, and then the kid don't want to spend time with you because you're not giving the kid everything they want, like video games all summer long. Wow. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. It's like one of those crazy things that straight up makes me go, well, it made me go crazy. But then I figured, hey, all this noise goes away when I'm the best version of myself, right? It goes back to my philosophy I said in the beginning of this episode. I don't watch the news because, most of those media outlets are just trying to get ratings. They don't tell you the whole story. But I plan on changing that. And I think in order for me to do that, I got to go live. I got to get lit. I got to go and be powerful. I got to be the best version of Johnny. And then people say, oh, wow, there's another way. We've been doing this way since the inception of media. Now let's change it. And that's where, as much as technology can be harmful and hurtful because the way they profitize it and they spoon feed it, it can be very helpful when it's a clear, transparent, and assistive mechanism for us to unlock our souls. Our souls are trapped in these physical bodies. They want to get out. They want to bring more fun, excitement, and passion into the world. And so let's do it. Let's do it. So let's make the team. Okay, so I'm going to put the poll question out there today. Do you feel you have a successful team surrounding you in life? Do you feel you have a successful team surrounding you in life? That's the poll question of the day. You can call the cool line, 650-383-7469. That's the cool line. Shoot a text, make a call, drop, it's just going to go to a voice recording generally, and you can say whatever you want. You can comment in the polls on Spotify, because that's where this podcast is hosted. Or you can tag, at iJohnny and do a post. I mean, there's many different ways to get your voice out there, but most people, I find, keep it inside, and then the water boils over. The boiling pot, it's a warning sign. It's on the Future 86 album, So there's that. So have a blessed day. I really want everyone to have a blessed day, because you are blessed. If you're still in the game, you've got mission. You've got work to do. What is your work? Take 5 minutes. I'm giving you all homework today. At any point today, just take 5 minutes and stop what you're doing and literally sit in nature without devices, without just for 5 minutes. You're not going to die if you shut your phone off for 5 minutes, and just sit there, look around what's going on. Even if it's raining, rain has purpose. Rain washes things. It cleanses the soul. It cleanses society. And I think that straight up, it's one of those things where we can become anything we want to become, but we got to stay focused. And if you look at, there's so much stuff on the web about quote unquote manifesting. Manifesting is nothing more than just taking a dream and working at it. And it'll come through, because we are powerful beings. But sometimes people give up on their power. I believe in you. Whoever you are listening to this, I believe in you. Whether you're a struggling artist and you're like, oh, I can't make money for my art. Really? Because Brito, if you're in Miami, made a shit ton of money on his art. And if he can do it, so can you. All you gotta do is just start doing it. People are like, oh, I'm a musician, I can't make money making music. Really? Tell that to Taylor Swift. She was probably a 10-year-old girl sitting there with the guitar playing, and go, if she said, oh, I'm not gonna make any money with this, I'm gonna go out and just get a job as a nurse and become a candy striper, and I'll play guitar for fun. Now she's one of the most successful musicians, traveling, touring musicians. I mean, and there's more opportunities for musicians to make money in it, and that's why everything I'm doing, it's challenging for me, because I want to focus on my music too, but I feel compelled to work on this other stuff, but it's all connected. So you can do it. If you're out there, just get out there and do it. I have stuff recorded as a musician that I put up there that I was like, this is strange. But you know what? I'm proud of it, because it's showing my work. It's at least I'm getting something out there. It might not be polished, it might be the best, but it's better than just sitting there watching TV and drinking beers. Sometimes it's fun sitting there drinking beers and watching TV, but not all the time. And that's the thing. If we seek out pleasure in excessive quantities, well, then it's one of those things where it's not going to be conducive to the way life is. Life is waves. Look at the ocean if you don't believe me. Comes and goes. High tide, low tide. Just roll with it. So, nothing but love and light to you all. Poll question. Do you feel you have a successful team surrounding you? 650-337-469. At the Wizardcast on social. At iJohnny for me personally, but at the Wizardcast for thewizardcast.com. Podcasting professionals, making magic is our business. And if you heard this, obviously what I'm doing is working. So talk to me if you'd like to make your own podcast. Talk to the Wizardcast, because there's a multiple dimensional thing in quantum realms. There's a whole staff of people that can help you take it to the next level. Peace and power to your dreams. And tomorrow, I'm going to do one tomorrow. Wizardly Wednesday. What's the deal? We're going to find out what the deal is tomorrow, in a multitude of ways. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.